Next guest is Indonesian Australian finest.
First of all, you need to make sure this is what you really want to do.
Cooking is like a fine art. It's about doing all the little things well.
There's no shortcut in life. We need to invest the time. And I used to live at the shack, just a fireplace and a bed frame. People don't see the work behind it. You want to start changing with the industry and grow with them, or you want to stay with the way you are and get left behind. Those money can't replace that. He said that it's okay if I understand if you never ever have to let me go. I said like, no mate, you f***ed up. I'm not letting you go. No matter how busy we are, this table right here is always the table where front of house, back of house, kitchen hand, bartender, and all the chefs sit together every day at 4 o'clock.
Hi, my name is Elijah. Welcome to the AN.Told Story. Next guest is one of, I think, let's say, Indonesian Australian finest. He's doing a very good job kind of representing Asian cuisine here in Australia in both an approachable format, but also in a very traditional format as well. Finding a really good blend of, I think, his passions, his inspirations, and also what makes it, I think, valuable is that he's touching on something personal and trying to showcase that to everybody else here in Australia, which I think is very beautiful. I don't think a lot of chefs appreciate their kind of heritage or appreciate their story or even their influences. As a chef, to be able to actually touch on that is a cool opportunity to get. And when you do, you want to do it really well and make your family proud, make your friends, even other chefs in the industry proud as well. So yeah, we're going to dive into his career today, which is going to be fun, explore some highs and lows, which is going to be the best part about it. But welcome, Chef Ardianto Wirya. Did I pronounce that correct?
You actually did it really
fuck
well,
me,
man.
Jesus Christ. All right, good. I was a bit worried. Yeah, so I guess one of the first things I want to touch on,
Yes.
I guess early life, right? One of the biggest moments someone can make is the decision to even become a chef.
Yeah.
Right? Because quite often, like most, your parents probably don't approve of you being a chef. I know my family didn't. They said it was a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to kind of draw on that early life, because I remember reading that you don't have a family of chefs, right? So,
Yeah.
but you found yourself in the kitchen cooking.
Yes, right. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about more, I guess, that early life and how you even found yourself in your first kitchen, I guess.
We're going way back, are we?
Way back there. Yeah.
My parents is they both are very busy, you know. So growing up, just me and my brother most of the time staying at home until late dinner time when they come back to work.
Yeah.
I think when I was around like 6 or 7, my mom would come home very late, so they'll come home tired. And I used to just find myself keep asking questions over the weekend when she's not working, like, oh, what are you doing? What are you cooking? Mm-hmm. And I remember my mom used to tell me, like, what are you doing in the kitchen? You're a boy. Go play soccer. Like, get out of the kitchen. You don't belong here.
Yeah.
And then I just, it doesn't stop me from coming to the kitchen.
Yeah.
So when my parents not there, I just like to mix ingredients and then play around by myself when I was like 7.
Boy.
And I started by making dishes. Like, don't get me wrong, they're not the best. Like, my brother's like, what are you making? Like, they look terrible. But there was one dish that's just simple pork marinated in like salt, sugar, MSG, and sesame sauce.
Fully.
Sesame oil. And we just tossed it in. And my parents still talk about that dish until today. Like,
really?
Oh, you never make that again. I'm like, I don't even remember what did I put in there. So yeah, they still talk about that. Move forward. When I was about finishing high school, I actually didn't finish my high school. So when I was 16, I've got an opportunity to come to Australia. And I think it's a God's plan, it's a blessing in the sky, because it's all just lined up. The choices either hairdresser, accountant, or nursing at the time, and chefing.
Yep.
I remember coming to Australia back in the days. I think it was back to 2007. Mm-hmm. Cooking was still not cool.
Yeah.
Cooking was still a labor job.
Yeah.
Even until like not recent 5 years back in Indonesia, people start appreciating chef.
Yeah.
And then my parents was making sure this is the kind of job I want to do, and then I stick to it. Started from washing dishes, put my head down, after the first 2 years, my parents not like tapped me on the back. Just go home. I don't want to see you working like this. They surprise visit me to Australia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did. They took a picture of me like holding a trolley. They cried to see me working like that when I was like 16, 17.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they
Oh,
did.
wow.
They're like, go home. What are you doing now? I don't want to keep seeing you working like this. I'm like,
Wow.
and then I was like, I'm sorry, but you guys not live forever.
Yeah.
I've gotta start making things for myself.
Sure.
So from there, I just stick it to it. And then I remember there was an opportunity to apply at the Star. That's where my fine dining journey started like fruiting.
Yeah.
My first fine dining job was Sokyo. I was
Oh,
part
wow.
of I was part of the opening member. There was another chef at the time with me. We were both just work at the food quarter. The Star was renovating at the time. They're bringing all these cool chefs from US and Nobu, and that's when Momofuku, David Chang started coming in to open all the big name restaurant.
Yeah.
And then I remember one of my friends, his name is Shane. He's already back in Korea now. He would work at food quarter for 38 hours throughout the week, and he would work another 38 hours on top of it for free just to help chase Kojima.
Really?
Yeah, he would stick it up, man.
I love that.
He was like, Chef, I just want to work for free. I just want to
Yeah.
learn from you, you know, and forget about this kind of thing these days, man. Like, it doesn't happen anymore. So he would do that, and then he had an opportunity to bring someone in. So both of us, we were just jumping in and work for free and then trying to learn the crafts from him. And that's when the opportunities start fruiting in the industry. And then from there, I just start, you know, thinking to myself, like, what kind of cooking do I want to go in the future? You know, like, can I make the best pasta or the best Italian food? I'm sure I can.
Yeah.
But I feel like, what's the point trying so hard to do everything else when you can stay to your roots?
Yeah.
That's when I start forcing myself doing staff meal, learning more about my cuisine, learning more about the heritage, because Indonesian is so broad and so big. So it's all started from staff meal and constantly making a good staff meal for the team and introducing the food, and start writing your recipe down from there, you know?
Yeah.
And people very receptive, or, you know, obviously there's always a constructive feedback you have to work on. But I think when you're working something towards your heritage, it's a lot easier because it's all just based on memory rather than trying to recreate something you never done before. So I feel like from that moment, I just keep trying to push this kind of cuisine, and it's always been my dream to be able to create menu basing on Indonesian food, because I feel like it's a good food, man. It's just not enough people willing to explore it. I know it's challenging to make it pretty. Like, I don't know if you ever come across beef rendang.
Beef rendang?
Yeah, it's almost like an overnight curry that cooks almost 36 hours.
Oh, wow.
But the curry becomes so dried up, and it's really get to the meat itself and help tenderize it. The trick is, after finish cooking, don't eat it straight away. You leave it in the fridge for the next day.
Really?
Yeah. It tastes better the next day, man.
Really? Like pizza?
Legit, legit. Whatever happened in the fridge, I don't know, but it tastes better the next day.
How funny.
But it's a type of curry that it just look black over black. It's almost like a chicken jerk, you know.
Really?
It's just black.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's so beautiful, it's so decadent, it's so full of flavor, but it's challenging to plate it. Because how can you plate black over black kind of thing?
Sure.
So I think like a lot of the challenge in Indonesian food is to be able to represent it in a nicer way. I feel not until the last couple of recent years, Indonesian food is all about survival. It's never really about enjoyment, and that's the biggest challenge I feel to change that mindset. Like, you know, food is also enjoyment as much as just a survival.
I find that really interesting because for a lot of my cooking, I found myself wanting to do, for example, like just vegan fine dining. I worked at Yellow for 5 years, right? So I finished up as a sous. And out of that, I started to do pop-ups and events and trying to convince people that plant-based food or that fruits and vegetables can be delicious by themselves. Which is funny because in Asian cultures, it's like they make so many delicious dishes without meat. Meat becomes like the cream on top.
That's correct.
All their flavor and the whole complexity of the dish comes from spices and herbs and everything else, and then the meat product is kind of just there.
Yeah.
You know, but bring that over here to, you know, white people.
Yes.
I can say that. And trying to convince them
Yeah.
that fruit, like fresh fruit and veg produce, can be good as its own thing is a very like interesting. It's a very interesting experience to have as a chef.
Yeah.
You know, but it's funny that you touched on staff meal, because as a chef, I think they really underappreciate when you're growing the opportunity that you get to have when you're making staff meal to actually use that as a good experience to cook something.
Yeah.
Especially when you're a commis chef and you have to make staff meal, you're not making dishes for a menu.
No.
But they really see staff meal as like, fuck, do I have to do staff meal? Fuck, I'm busy, you know? Like, and it's like an afterthought, it's like a second thought.
That's
but
right.
it's like, man, like if young chefs could really take that moment and appreciate the opportunity to make a delicious staff meal for everybody, it's like someone will be paying attention in that kitchen and go, fuck, he knows how to cook.
Yeah.
I want to get him on this. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
I want to
right.
move him onto this section or move him there, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't think I didn't appreciate it when I was doing staff meal,
Yeah.
like in the early days, you know?
Yeah.
Thinking I was like, fuck, like I'm busy, I've got shit to do. But staff meal, it's such a good opportunity for that.
Yeah, you're not, when you do staff meal, you're not cooking the food on the menu, like you said.
Yeah.
You representing yourself,
Yeah.
you know, and then you're not cooking for a paying customer, you're cooking for your colleagues, you're cooking for your teammates that will genuinely give you a feedback right there, right then. There's one culture that I'm really enforcing here at Island Radio. No matter how busy we are, no matter if there is a guest sitting on this table right here is always the table where front of house, back of house, kitchen hand, bartender, and all the chefs sit together every day at 4 o'clock. No miss. You know, we sit down together. The chef, we would prepare our meal for the team. The front of house, they would prepare the location, they would prepare the cutlery, they would prepare the plates for us, and the bartender, they would make some cordials. So every single department, they contribute to this team meal.
Good.
You know, it is hard to enforce it to begin with. Don't get me wrong, everyone's mindset is about like, I've got a job to do, I've got to push on my prep. But I keep telling them, man, you're standing there for another 15 minutes, nothing's gonna get done. You're not gonna smash another 30 kilo of pork, you know? So just sit down, sit the fuck down, reset your brain, speak to your colleagues, you know, and you share how your day been. When you come back, you're a lot more energized. You're a lot more focused because you feel like you reset yourself. You know, without resetting yourself unconsciously, you work slower because you get more stagnant, you get more tired, you get more repetitive, you know. We play game, we play Mobile Legends. Like the 5 of us in the kitchen, we will smash it through the break time, you know. We laugh about it. And it gives a better mindset when we come in to serve it. You know, not a mindset that I'm already under pressure, not a mindset like I need to chase my tails.
Sure.
And then I said to my chefs, like, we have 60 items on the menu. One thing right now, I don't care. I really don't care. They can order something else. You know, like, yes, the guest is important, but we also have to look after ourselves. Because no one else will. You know? The guest's not gonna, have you guys had dinner yet? Do you guys want to sit down for 5 minutes? The guest's not gonna offer you that. You know, you're gonna look after yourself before you can look after other people. But yeah, so we encourage that a lot. Everyone contributes throughout the section as well. We're not just focusing on one section having to do it. So I feel like, and when you're doing team meal and then, you know, every single one sit down and then they appreciate it, they say like, oh my God, this is so good. You give that extra confidence to the chef. And then it grows on them. You know, when we're not having it, they're like, what's happened today? Why we don't sit together? Like,
it really means something.
Yeah, it does. Every time we sit together, they're like, oh, this is so good. This is the best time of the day, you know? And front of house, back of house, the ice is broken. You know, if there is a mistake on the floor, they're not scared of telling us. Because they know that we're not gonna say anything about it.
Exactly.
You know, if we needed something from the floor because we made a mistake, we don't feel bad asking them.
And that communication is so important.
It does.
Like, and it's so interesting, the complexity of just a simple family meal and how different that can change the restaurant and the dynamic and the relationships and even just kind of the overall experience. Once the communication's there, it's like the guests can feel that it's a great time. You know, like, and it's just better, you know, it's so much better. So I just want to take this back to Sokyo, right?
Yeah.
So you jumped on at Sokyo.
Yes.
What was it like working there? Because that being quite a, I guess, I mean, it's seen as kind of high end, but I imagine it would have been a very tough kitchen to work
Yeah.
in. Like, and even though, I mean, the fact that you even wanted to put in extra time, which you rarely see these days, chefs wanting to just put overtime just to learn and experience, means that there was some value, you know, that you wanted to learn from like Chef Chase, right?
Yeah.
What was that like, right? Like kind of putting your head into that kind of high-end kitchen.
There was one of the big change moment in my career, coming from like just a cafe, family-owned restaurant.
Sure.
You know, I started McDonald's as well. I think most chefs,
Man, I was Red Rooster. I was Red Rooster, yeah.
most chefs would have done their time in fast food.
Yeah.
I still appreciate their training.
Yeah, I
man.
do too. Yeah, it's so
like
good.
clean as you go, that's what McDonald's times
Yeah,
is, you
yeah.
know. But I think the big career change, especially at the time I was quite young. Then again, I'm not Australian. I am the immigrant first generation. So at the time, I was still on my 21, 22. I still have to, you know, like most of immigrants that come here, we need to pay for our school ourselves and stuff like that. So it's quite a big change for me doing like 2-3 jobs and trying to pay for all my school fees and make a living here.
Yeah.
To just really doing full time, getting overtime without getting paid for it. It's a big change in my career. But at the time, I think it's the necessary sacrifice you need to make in order for you to get into this kind of restaurant. So when we were still me and Shane at the time, I think he's already CDP, but I was still the commie. When we would have start lunch service at 12, so we normally need to be in at venue by 11. At Sokyo, if you don't come with a sharp knife, you got sent home. So every day the chef would come. If they would have started at 11, they would have come by 10. 10 to 10:30, they would sharpen their knife. If they would have like 7 knives for chef's knife, kitchen knife, vegetable and sashimi and so off, they would have just come to sharpen it every single day.
I had a chef who worked under Peter Doyle.
Yeah.
Right? Iconic Australian chef. And he was chopping veg, and Peter Doyle come up to him like the snake around the shoulder, overlooking, right?
Yes.
And he's like, "Is your knife sharp, chef?"
Yeah.
Because you know you can hear it
That's
when
right.
it sounds like it's chopping and not slicing, you know.
Knock.
And so he's like, "Oh, can I just use the knife?" You know.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, of course, chef. You know. Obviously, you're not going to say no."
Yeah.
And so he like jumps to the side, and Peter starts like cutting with his knife, and he's like, "Chef, you've got yourself a fucking spoon. You know,
Yeah.
like cutting. You know."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You need to buy yourself a new knife. You know."
Yeah.
And so he was like, "Yes, chef. Yes, chef."
Yeah.
And they got to staff meal, right? About break time. He didn't eat. He went straight to the chef store and he bought himself like a $400 new
nice.
knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shit you not.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh, fuck, he's like an apprentice, you know?
Yeah,
Like-
yeah.
And he's like, goes to buy himself a new knife, comes back to the restaurant and he's like, he's chopping away and he's like, I feel good now, you know?
Yeah,
And Peter
that's
Doyle's
right.
like, oh yeah, see, you know? It's just really funny, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, I just wanted to go.
Yeah.
Continue, go, yeah.
I think that kind of
funny.
discipline and then the knife is very important, especially for a chef,
Totally.
right? One of I still say a mentor for me, even though we don't spend that much time together anymore. He's the guy that always in the background. His name is Brian Logan. Back in 2005, he was the sous chef for the Tetsuya, when Tetsuya is still #1 back in 2005. So back in the 2005, Dan Hong, Jawed, Josh Nealon, I think, and a few other named chefs was working under him at Tetsuya. He's a very hard, like he's very brutal, like English chef. Like he know what he's doing. He used to work for Marco Pierre White. He did mention to me and Ramsey as well.
Tetsuya?
Before Tetsuya, Brian.
Oh, Brian. Sorry,
Yeah.
so sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. So he got a lot of experience, but he used to say one kind of like philosophy to me that I still follow it by heart, and then I still said it every day in, day out to my chef here at Island Radio. He would say, respect your ingredient the way you respect your parents, because without your ingredients, you're nobody.
Yep.
Right? With no ingredients, you're not gonna be here doing your job.
Yep.
So if you don't treat it, you don't put away your ingredients with respect, then you're not gonna have a good ingredient to cook with.
Yeah.
He said, treat your wife the way you treat your knife. Because when you don't treat your wife properly at home, you have a hard time at home. You don't treat your knife properly at work, you're gonna have a hard time throughout work.
Yeah.
And treat your colleagues the way you treat your family.
Yeah.
You know, because you spend most of your time with them. So like you say it. I think that knife is very important
Totally.
for us as chef. Without it, you would bruise your produce, you would butcher them, or it would taste it like iron because cleaning the rust. So yeah, Chase would make that happen every day.
Yeah.
But even that, me and my friend Shane we would still come at 9. We would spend another hour early. We read the book throughout the things and what we want to do for staff meal. We would discuss it.
Yeah.
And we would already plan our team meal because we know this is the opportunity for us to kind of showcase what we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those disciplines that really embodied working and switching from a cafe job to a really nice dining restaurant, when precision matters, it's about a good communication, timing, working well together between section, because those something that you wouldn't learn in school. Those kind of like camaraderies and kind of like communication, you don't get that from school, man.
Yeah.
Those pushing through a big service, you don't get that from school. So you only get that camaraderies from working in this high pressure restaurant, I believe.
Yeah, it's like street smarts,
Yes,
you
that's
learn
right.
in the kitchen.
Yeah.
There's only some things you learn in the kitchen.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
It's really interesting because a chef's foundation can be the difference between how far they're willing to go, how hard they're willing to push,
Yeah.
and also their kind of core philosophy that drives them.
That's right. Yeah.
And the first restaurant that you work at that sets all of those in motion can be critical.
Yeah.
So finding the right chef or the mentor that exposes you to being in a kitchen is so important.
Yeah.
I assume that was Sokyo for you. Was that
Yes.
kind of the first? Yeah, like for me, it wasn't a big restaurant. Like I say this because it doesn't have to be a 2-3-headed restaurant.
Yeah.
It could be a cafe.
That's right.
With a business owner or chef who's like just loves cooking.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be anywhere big.
Yeah.
But just finding the right mentor in the first block of your career
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying, like the fact that you wanted to get there early because you just felt committed and to learning and disciplined to refining,
Yeah.
even though you're still so young, is like crazy, man. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you can't even teach that.
That's right, yeah.
Like someone's lit a fire in you,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is cool. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to do in 10 years, but right now, I just
This
want to
is it.
learn. I just
Yeah.
want to do everything, And I love that. Like when I was at the cafe, when I was an apprentice back in Shell Harbour, same thing. We were open 7 days from like 6 a.m. to like 4.
Crazy.
And like I had a partner at the time, so I wasn't going to be going into the kitchen at night time because I'd be
Yeah.
spending it with her.
Of course,
So
yeah.
once or twice a week, I asked the head chef if I could borrow the keys so I could go in at 1 a.m. in the morning.
No way.
Yeah, seriously. So I'd like every
crazy,
week,
yeah.
I'm trying to use this opportunity to like pick a skill or get produce I never had,
Yeah.
and then go to this cafe at 1 a.m. in the morning.
That's right.
And spend 3 or 4 hours before he got in at 4:30 or 5
right, yeah.
to learn. And even if the dish that I made didn't taste good, I could learn something from that.
Yeah.
And go, oh, maybe the technique I did didn't turn out well, but I'll write it down and
That's
I'll
right.
religiously write notes.
Yeah.
And I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Like I really like that would be a good thing that I think young chefs now would be like, just if you're really committed to the job, you really want to be a chef, forget about the huge pay packet,
No.
forget about the lines and the rules. Like just like use every opportunity to get a book
Yeah.
and read. Use every opportunity to meet a new chef and learn,
That's
ask
right.
questions,
Yeah.
and just absorb.
Yeah.
Like it's so important, man.
Yeah, I feel like there's no shortcut in life, right?
Totally.
I feel we need to invest the time, no matter what. It's like playing games, man. Like if they say in order for you to complete the game, it takes 100 hours. I might invest an hour a day, but I don't know another chef might invest 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And the problem with this, right? People don't see the work behind it. People don't see what time does Michael Jordan get up to train. They only see that 45 minutes in the game, but they don't see the training. They don't see the mise en place in the kitchen, right? So I feel like we need to put in the hours no matter what. Like that wax on, wax off, that's true, man.
Yeah.
My chef would be like, yes, I know how to cut this already. Why do I have to keep doing it every day? I'm like, that's the hours we have to put in, man. I'm sorry, like it's not me that have to put the hours anymore. It's not me that having to cut this slick julienne anymore, It's you right now. I'm not doing it to bore you, but unfortunately, unconsciously, you wouldn't realize this is gonna be your muscle memory. And those discipline that you put in, day out, that's gonna help you in the longer run, not me anymore. you know, and then this is what most people don't realize. They don't want to put in their time anymore. I'm sorry, but I feel like the younger generation, they expect result to come straight away. You know, I turn on my pot of water, why is it not boiling yet? Baby, relax.
Yeah. Chef, we've just installed the best gas cookers in the country. The flames are up here. I want my water now, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't happen like that, man. Like, you gotta give it time.
Yeah.
You know, like in this kitchen, I never say like, hurry up, I need this dish now.
Sure.
I always say, take the whole time you need. You know,
Yeah.
I care about good product. I don't care about how fast can you do it for.
Yeah.
You know, once you have a good product and it's in your muscle memory, the speed will come in. You know, because your brain doesn't have to communicate with your muscle anymore. It will just naturally comes. And if you don't do the time, you're gonna start making a lot of mistakes. If you don't do the time, you're gonna start unconsciously not cleaning your section because you're trying to rush things. And all these little things matters, you know.
Yeah, and the beauty of the difference between a good chef and a bad chef is that you can see it and you can taste it.
Yeah.
You cannot fake being a good chef.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. Is that no matter how much you talk, no matter what you say, no matter all the friends, network you have, is that if we all sat down and watched that person cook, the way they worked, how clean they are, the way they cut, the way they cook, and then you tasting it, you know the difference. You cannot fake being a good chef. Full stop. And I love that. That's that you can really feel, like you said, that if you put in the time and the effort, you can see the results. You know, you can taste the results. You can feel it. You know, and that's so important. You know, and it's exactly right. It's just about kind of putting in the groundwork and just refining that technique. You know. And I was reading up about a chef called Philip Johnson. He's a New Zealand-born chef who opened up a restaurant called Echo in Brisbane. It's still here today. It's like 20 years later.
Nice.
But he opened it up in 1993, and in 2 years won Gourmet Traveller National Restaurant Award. Right.
Wow.
One of his like famous quotes was, "Cooking is like a fine art. It's about doing all the little things well."
That's right.
That's it. Wherever you take that, but it's just about doing all the little things well, and that's from the way you fold your chucks, your napkin. It's about how you clean as you go. It's about how you respect the produce. It's about how you choose to cook. It's about where your ideas come from, your influence, even just kind of how you present it.
That's right.
Shows people how much you care about it. You know, and these are kind of really important philosophies to ground someone with. You know. Going from Sokyo, now that you have your core philosophy, where do you choose to go, or where do you kind of get inspired to go next if you want to continue to kind of learn?
So the move I did after Sokyo is beautiful, right? Don't get me wrong. It's like combi oven on almost every single section. That's
nice.
That's a dream, man.
That's nice.
And then, you know, you have a cool room that 10 people or 15 people can walk around and do a party, you know, and then you have a whole prep kitchen with elevator. So it's a beautiful venue. And then after I did that for a couple of years, and then we got the head and everything, I reflect back to myself after knowing that I want to focus on Southeast Asian cuisine. So I already start narrowing down the restaurant I want to go. So Miss G's was the next venture I took on. Why did I take on Miss G's? Because when I see the venue, how it's been designed, and how the team work in the kitchen, I feel like it's a lot more realistic. You know, you have one combi oven where you have to share. You know, people have to communicate to each other by ingredient rather than having 1,000 of things in the cool room you then have to worry about. So, and of course, it's the dream of every single chef to be able to open something for themselves. So I felt like at the time Miss G was a good opportunity, and it's a good learning curve. And at the time, I think I was the second generation. So that's just after Dan Hong moving up to open Mr. Wong. So Miss G is still quite pumping. I remember I always tried to eat at the venue 3 times or 4 times before I apply for the job. So I remember I have to line up for about 30 minutes because there's no reservation, and people just seems to be excited to be there. The energy was amazing, the atmosphere, the people that work there just feel really, really like happy to be there. They want to work there. And actually, the culture of the team meal happens from Miss G's. I remember at Miss G's, no matter how busy we were, we always sit down as a front of house and back of house, which I now enforce it a lot in Island Radio. And yeah, Miss G's was learning about having the cultures, but I still remember when I was a CDP there, man, like when I forgot to order my ingredient, I would run on my break and buy it from Coles so my sous chef and my head chef wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You know, because you don't want to be looked at irresponsible.
Sure.
You know, those kind of hierarchy and those discipline and respect to the venue is still very high. And that camaraderie, I remember my friend would help me out like, oh yeah, Andy just out for having a cigarette.
Yeah.
Where for fact I was running, so they wouldn't find out I was missing an ingredient, you know. Miss G's, I learned a lot from Miss G's. I remember everyone from a commis chef up to the head chef, we all there every day, 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, there's no overtime, there's no such a thing. We all doing all our hard work together. I remember every night we still have to climb up the roof. We have to clean what we make dirty, and we respect our own equipment. It's not the best, you know, looking kitchen, but it's the most well looked after kitchen in my opinion. And the kitchen still lasts until now. You know, there's a lot of discipline that is been put in place in Miss G's and a lot of creativity in my opinion. It's the most fun, kind of like no boundaries kitchen, man. Like you can just do whatever you want as long as it tastes good, it looks good, it's good, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've decided to switch from Sokyo, where we used to have all the luxury, to be a bit more smaller and realistic restaurant that run by like 5 or 6 chefs, but that every single person willing to put all their hard work at the same time.
I'm curious about now going from Chef Chase to Dan Hong. How did you find they were able to lead kitchens differently, and maybe some interesting differences that you were able to take from them in terms of, I'm just kind of curious about that.
Chase and Brian is very disciplined, very methodological, right? Yeah. Whereas Dan is very creative, is very out there. He's thinking outside the box. So I feel like working with Chase and Brian Logan really helped to shape my foundation as what the discipline and the right attitude you should have in the kitchen by putting your head down and do your work.
Yeah.
Whereas Chef Dan helped me to you know, seeing things in a different way.
Yep.
I remember back in the day, Cryovac machine just started being introduced. I remember that time there was one salad, it's called the Buddha Delights. That salad had 10 fucking components. Every single one being cut julienne.
Yeah.
You know, and then they had compressed celery. Literally just celery being compressed with kombu, and that was one of the best thing I ever tasted.
Really?
Yeah, it's so good. I have it here. It really brings out the sweetness of the celery.
Right.
It really, and then when you compressed it, basically you forcing the small particles in with the kombu.
Yeah.
So the sweetness celery and the freshness with the umami from the kombu just works really well.
Wow.
And he would put his dressing into a gel, and the gel would be cut julienne. Like an agar gel, so it was just a fucking salad, but it's so much work that is been put into that salad.
Sure.
To make it works together, you know. So I feel like Dan Hong's really out there with the way he thinks about the dishes, the way he approach about the cuisine, and how can, you know, it's not overly complicated. It's 1-2 step and ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's just about making sure the flavors works and you cooking the ingredient to the best possibility. Where you can do it for, you know. And then that's where I invest my time and start doing the wok as well. So that's the first wok kitchen. Never turn my back to stuff again, I'm sorry.
Really?
Never once.
It's fun.
Yeah, you know, things get heat up really fast.
Yeah.
You can achieve a flavor that no other equipment can replicate, no matter how much you try.
Yeah.
Those wok cake can only be achieved by using wok, and it's beautiful flavor,
Yeah. So, and Dan Hong was doing Miss G's and Mr. Wong?
He was opening up Mr. Wong at the time, so he spent most of the time at Mr. Wong.
Oh, gotcha.
At the time, Patrick Friesen, which is now the executive chef for Tap House, I believe. He was the head chef, and Paul Donnelly at the time was the sous chef. And I think Paul Donnelly now in America opening a couple restaurants on his own in New York.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, because you went to Mr. Did you go to Mr. Wong for a little bit?
I did. After Miss G's, I actually went back home
Okay, sure.
to Indonesia. My family, my dad business went bankrupt.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I invest all my saving to help them to open a little shop.
wow.
It's still up and running now. It's a blessing. Yeah, they got 3 shop now.
Wow.
In Jakarta. It's a small shop, man. Like the target is medium low, but because it's in the shopping center mainly, so they just have to worry about making the food and keep them busy.
Oh, so they got like the restaurants,
Yeah,
you mean
yeah.
shops?
It's still
wow.
going. It's still going since the time I went back home. Yeah. So I did went back home for I think 3 years.
Wow.
Because within the 5 years of your permanent residency, you have to stay within Australia for 2 years. So unfortunately, I have to come back. After that, I went to open another restaurant in Blue Mountain. It's called Lokyo House.
Yeah.
It is a heritage listed building. I think it's 1925.
You really love your heritage, huh?
Yeah. They used to get like a hat as well, but it was just me and my mates. We opened it up. Did that for a couple of years before shit hit the fan. Working with friends, we trusted your friends with no contract, basically.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
It was partially my mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, the restaurant is still up there in the mountain, I believe. They sold it recently last year. They got like a beautiful Airbnb. We used to have our veggie garden in front, and I used to live at the shack.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
Just a fireplace and a bed frame.
That's the goal.
And a milk crate.
Really? Iconic. Need somewhere to smoke,
yeah, exactly. That's all I had.
Wow.
That's all I had for about 2-3 months before we actually getting some couches and some things.
You get a free chair on the side of the road.
Yeah, that's right.
Living the dream.
Yeah, we did that.
Wow.
We did that for about a year and a bit before I moved back to city and start working at Mr. Wong.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was the very first sous chef they hired from the outside. So there was
outside of the group.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They outside the venue.
Sure.
They always promote people within.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they've been there working there for 7-8 years.
Wow.
For starting from commie, and then they moved their way up.
Yeah.
So I was the very first sous chef that Dan Hong brought in without working in the venue before. So that was brutal.
Yeah. A lot of expectations.
Yeah, Mr. Wong's brutal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was on seafood section. The second day I was expected to know most of the dishes already.
Ah, shit.
They had about 30 dishes on their section. And it's a very high pace.
Yeah.
They never slow down. I remember, it's a lot of people that would challenge you because they've been working there for so long.
Yeah.
And the hierarchy is very obvious over there. Like certain section, you wouldn't be able to join the section unless you've been chosen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's the part of the restaurant industry that gets very competitive.
That's right. Yeah.
And it gets very interesting.
It does, yeah. But don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful learning curve to be able to learn what a successful business is really looking like. Mr. Wong is very successful for what they are, not just nationally, internationally as well. They're quite well known. Mm-hmm. So it's an eye opener to be part of such a very high driven team like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine, like, especially despite the restaurant in the Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
But the sous chef role you had here was kind of like a first leadership role in the city. Obviously, I know you're running the restaurant there.
Yeah.
So you obviously would have had a team.
That's right.
And so forth. But I don't know. I mean, I do a little bit, but the dynamics of the kitchen team you have out in the countryside as opposed to the city are also very different.
So different.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
The mindset of the people there, the communication, their drive, very different. Like I said, the city's super competitive.
Yeah.
And when you're a sous chef and everyone's basically gunning for
the position,
just waiting.
Yeah.
Waiting like hyenas on the side
right.
for you to trip up.
Yeah.
And people do that, man. People will stab you in the back.
Yeah.
I've experienced it. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But with that pressure that you were just chatting about, it can be a lot, and being the sous chef there at a very highly regarded restaurant under a highly regarded chef, there are a lot of expectations. Did you have any big learnings that now being kind of in a leadership role
Yeah.
and having to run and look after a team while also push a good restaurant forward and kind of more or less look after it in some sense.
Yeah.
Did you have any kind of big learnings from that?
I do. I've learned a lot. Majorly, I learned not to be angry. At Mr. Wong, I'm quite known for my temper. But then at the time, my role and my job is to drive performance. You know, like I don't have to worry about hiring. You're not happy? I'm sorry. You can find another restaurant to work for. But unfortunately, in this type of venue, we were at the time driving such a high standard. So we enforced that a lot. But I remember after a couple, like the first year or so, Dan Hong sat me down. He was like, Andy, listen, like the industry is changing. You know, like you notice you're getting a lot of LCB crews that, you know, they think chefing is cool. They come into the venue already start wearing their tweezers on the fucking pocket. You know, that means jack shit, right? Like, but they think cooking is cool, and we it's not the same industry anymore, you know. So Dan Hong just making it very clear. He goes like, it's really up to you now, Andy. You want to start changing with the industry and grow with them, or you want to stay the way you are and get left behind? That's completely fine, but the choice is in your hand. And then, you know, coming into the head chef role, given opportunity by Dan at the Queen Chow, that's when you're having to understand about hiring people is not easy, man.
Yeah.
You know, especially at the time I was in Manly, no matter what, it takes them to transport to get there, almost an hour or so. You know, they're having to pay so much money to get there. They're not getting paid enough. So that's when I learned to enforcing a catch-up. So I would sit down with my chefs every after service. You know, depending who's performing or who's not performing, I would spend at least an hour and a half to sit down with 3 or 2 of the minimum to find out why you're struggling. You know, what can we do to help you? What can we do to make it easier? Because I feel like every person is genuinely good people. If they know it's wrong, they're not gonna do it. If they know they can do it, choose not to do it. But if you're given every right tools for them to do it, they'll perform at their best. You know, right tools in the sense of mental state, right tools in the sense of right salary package, you know, being fed well, being able to pay rent, and all these things, right? So there's a big learning to be able to start looking after your team rather than trying to drive them over fear or trying to drive them over like upsetness or, you know, disagreement. I'm learning how to start you know, listen to them and start seeing it as one, you know, setting one vision, same goal, and then we work towards that. I remember towards my time at Queen Chow Manly, when I start learning how to build a better culture for everyone. When I would have called the docket, I couldn't hear the different chef answering my docket. When I called the docket over the weekend at Queen Chow Manly, the whole kitchen answered harmoniously, like together.
Oh, really?
It's one voice,
It's a nice
man.
feeling.
It's a goosebump every single fucking time.
It's a nice feeling. Yeah.
It's a goosebump, man.
Yeah,
like, you be able to get a group of 10 chefs, you know, just answering one call, and they would hear it throughout the whole restaurant. You know, the manager would be able to say like the energy that you guys giving out, it affects the ambience of the restaurant, you know?
It feels like sex, you know?
Better than that. Better than that.
It does. It feels, it's very strange, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, cool, I've got a handle on this, you know? We can do this.
Yeah, and this kind of like, I know being in the kitchen is a hard job, but this kind of like little feeling that rewards you, I feel like even money can't replace that. You know, those feeling of seeing your team grows to become a better chef and better people, those money can't replace that. Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And I was going to say like good leadership, which is, it's so important to talk about because it's like, especially, you know, now going from Queen Chow to here, Easy Tiger, you know, like you're full on leadership now, you know, and it's like, you can't teach leadership, but it's so common that a chef will become a sous or head chef because they're a good cook, but not a good leader. And that's one of the most like fundamental flaws of being a chef, because you're a chief. You know, you can be a good cook, but you're running a kitchen, you're looking after a team, and whether you like it or not, you're becoming a mentor. You don't even think about it when you're becoming a head chef. You think, I want to be a head chef because I want to write a menu,
dishes,
I want to have some sort of maybe fame or reputation. But running a kitchen, it's like, that is a very it's a part of it, but it's a small part of it.
Yeah.
You know, looking after your team and mentoring and giving direction and teaching them and not being an asshole. You know, like you're encouraging the next generation of chefs
To be better, yeah.
to be better.
Yeah.
You know, which is why I asked you about your first place, because that set your drive to be where you are now.
Yeah.
And how do we keep encouraging that?
Yeah, that's
You know,
right.
it's like obviously when you become a head chef, you have to find a balance and kind of be like that strict parent. You do. You can't be friends with everybody. You have
That's
to be a
right.
strict parent. You have to pull them up. You have to be honest. You have to say, look, mate, like I've told you a couple times, like there is a reason why we do this.
Yeah.
The customer will know the difference.
That's right.
You know, even if it's front of house.
Yeah.
Even front of house, if they're not happy or if they're not like, they don't really want to be here. Like that attitude for that is like a chef not understanding why not to cook something properly.
Yeah, man.
And they work together to make a guest come back.
That's right.
You know, so there's so many dynamics, and
Yeah.
if they're all done really well, you know, that is the harmony that creates synergy that makes your restaurant something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like a good place in time of the dining scene.
Yeah.
You know, so leadership is so important. I'm curious, what are the biggest lessons that you've learned since, especially coming here, right? Let's talk about from now, going from where you started to now. What do you think are the best leadership lessons you've learned that I think create kind of the core of who you are and what makes you a chef?
Like, I believe if you would have had two chefs, okay, you put them side by side with a wall as a divider. You give them the ingredient down measured to the gram, but one chef is led by fear, basically saying, you're not good enough. I expect better from you. This is not acceptable, and all these things. And you have another chef, which may be potentially making the same mistake, but lead by a positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement by like, hey, this is okay, but I know you could have done better. Hey, this is good, but if you would have add this flavor, it would be even better. Okay, I feel genuinely the food will come out taste differently, because every single plate that we put a bit of our soul to the plate, how we feel at the time. You know, like without a good intention, even though the recipe is perfect, man, the food wouldn't taste better. So in this kitchen, I strongly believe, like, if it's a small mistake, if it's acceptable, that's okay. You know, if the guests have to wait for another 15 minutes in order for them to get a perfect product, that's okay. Throw the mistake product away. You know, we can talk to the guests. We can give them something in the meantime that costs us nothing. You know, in order for them wait and they get a perfect product. I always tell the chef, when they wasted something because they do wrong recipe, I'm like, that's okay. Like that
You do it again, you're fired.
That little that's okay thing, like trust me, like I let it slide sometimes, way too many times, you know. I said like, I would rather for you to feel comfortable telling me that you made a mistake. I would rather for you to feel comfortable to put your hands up and say I fucked up, rather than you going behind my back, which eventually I'll find out, you know, rather than you going behind the back that I wasn't aware, which eventually I'll find out. And it's a breakdown, right? Because sometimes when you're dealing with a lot of clientele or the guests, you're not just dealing with cooking a good food, you also have to be able to trust every single one of your chefs for doing the right job, or, you know, putting their hands up, making a mistake, especially when it comes down to analogy. Worst case scenario, my chef drop a little peanut to a big batch of sauce. They feel terrible of saying anything, you know. That could affect a lot bigger to the guests, rather than I have to throw away that 20 liters of sauce, and, you know, and keeping that chef as a learning lesson. So I feel like, but also not having the pressure of a hat, which I never want.
Put it on the record now, yeah?
I actually did say it.
Don't worry, they're going to review you anyway, yeah?
Oh, they have.
Yeah, I know. Ben Shui wasn't happy about it.
No, like I'm actually very grateful to get what we had.
Yeah.
You get the highest without the burden of a hat.
The 14.5.
That's right. That's all I want. I just happy to see every single guest that come in and out saying, "Oh my God, this is fucking amazing.
Good.
I love everything." Rather than pretentious. Don't get me wrong. Every single person entitled for their wrong opinion. But you know, but then they're like, oh, it should have been like this, it should have been like that. Like, or my partner, she's a head sommelier for Lumi Dining. Sure. She said like the clientele would have been like, oh, you're too head, you should have had this, you should have had that. You know, that's not necessary right now. You know, just having a full pack restaurant, happy guests, big smiley face, saying thank you every time they walked out, saying hi every time they walked in. That's more than anything I can get, you know? Saying how much they enjoy everything, I'll see you again soon. That's better than having a hat and
Yeah.
empty restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a chef that I was catching up with, Jason Saxby, at Ray's, and I'm going to follow this up with something for you. He once said to me that as a chef, you want to take what you do seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you think this would be a very good example?
That's the best example. You'll see me dancing all the time, man.
Oh yeah, I love that, huh?
Thank you.
There's nothing better. Oh my God.
Like if you come on Sundays, honestly, Friday, Saturday, our team just be laughing, like, you know,
Yeah.
just trying to have a good time because,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I think the food just genuinely will taste better.
Yeah. It's good, no, but like humility is good. Humility is important, right? I'm not going to tell you where I got that photo. Yeah.
I actually, I made the whole boat when I won an award for a Good Times Award.
Yeah.
By Housemate Hospitality. So I get to do a little speech in front of everyone. The only thing I say was like, can I get a Hoya? The whole boat, Hoya!
Really?
Like, yeah, life achievement. Tick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Better
a
than
good time.
sex.
Yeah, it was good. That was
Oh,
good.
that's a good way to go.
Yeah.
All right, so I just want to quickly cover Island Radio and
Yeah.
Easy Tiger, right? So I guess this kind of brings us to this really nice, wholesome kind of conclusion of you developing your fundamentals,
Yeah.
you hustling the fuck out of your goals and your dreams, and then kind of now having the opportunity to put all this together and to give the best representation of your cooking, what your influences are, what you love,
Yeah.
what you want to showcase, and then also at the same time, on the side, now having to culminate who you want to be as a chef,
Yeah.
right? And doing Island Radio and Easy Tiger are kind of a good opportunity for you to do that, and it's kind of the first opportunity you're able to do that in a way in which the menu is now yours.
Yeah.
Not saying that you haven't been in leadership roles, but now being in leadership role from a menu that reflects you. That's a very different opportunity to have, you know, like because you do have a sense of connection to this menu
Yeah.
and to this place
Yeah.
on a very personal level. Tell us a bit about what that opportunity is like and that feeling of being able to create something that is really now personal and showcasing that to everybody. For those who are a young chef that maybe dream about wanting to reflect their own food or I mean, not that they even probably have, they probably don't even have a kind of food they love. I guess that comes in the discovery later.
Yeah.
You appreciate it later, but for those that maybe dream about one day wanting to run their own restaurant, or create their own menu, what that opportunity was like for you and how you were able kind of to pull all that together and what that was like.
Besides all the sunshine, rainbow, don't get me wrong, it was a lot of stress. You know, opening, no matter how many restaurants you open or no matter how part of the opening team you were, it never get easy. And I find that it's always challenging. But then like even especially Island Radio, Easy Tiger is kicked off, but we have a small tight team community that stays there for a while. But Island Radio is a lot more bigger team. And even so, I'm trying to still merge between Island Radio and Easy Tiger. So we still cross-training between our chefs, between the two venues. I feel like what was it really challenging is the fact that you're trying to do something that is never really been done before, the type of cuisine, the exploring of the dishes. But I am very blessed and I'm very fortunate in the sense I have not just me, every single part of my team member contribute, and the credits is always been given. I have Eddie, my sous chef, which is amazing at his wok skill, and then he's willing to pass it down to the younger chef. I have Chef Harry, my other sous chef, is very delicate with his hand. He enforces a lot of the final touches. He enforces a lot of the curry puff, the hard technique dishes, Chef Bob down at Easy Tiger, he's Filipino background, so he has the big influential on most of my Filipino dishes in both venue. And I think, one thing that I've acknowledged that we don't have in this venue or Easy Tiger, we don't have ego, we don't have pride. Like I still jump on the dishes if I have to. I run the food if my front of house is too busy. I never just stand there and clapping and yelling at them. I don't just stand at the pot wash and asking them why they're so slow. You know, you give them the hand what they needed. You start prepping if you know the section is falling behind. We don't just stand there and start yelling them that they weren't good enough. We be there for them to help push through together. So this kind of culture and behavior of not having a pride and ego is been kind of like pass it down through all my sous chefs. I say, when the junior chef is making a mistake, you have to look at it, have you done the correct training? Have you done the right way of teaching them? Have you given them the right tools for them to do it properly? If you haven't, it's your fault, man.
Yeah.
As much as they are, it's our fault. So we need to fix what we need to fix first before we start giving them the learning curve for them to be better, you know? So I think not having a pride and not having an ego on what we do is been the best fundamental for us to have a better, healthier kitchen. If any of my chef would have corrected me on my dish, I'll be grateful. You know, I say like, thanks for noticing this. I'll work on it to make it better. Every single of our guests giving feedback, I never said they were wrong. I say like, let me have a look at it and I'll adjust accordingly, you know.
Or you're entitled to the wrong opinion.
That's correct. Every single one is entitled for their own opinion. So yes, I think, you know, that's what get us so far. Just by putting our head down, we're all working together. Even though there is a position, even though people have their own roles and responsibility, but people don't feel bad of talking to each other to help each other, you know. And then it makes everyone's job easier. It makes the front of house jobs easier. It makes the kitchen job easier, the kitchen hand jobs easier, you know. Every single front of house, they would stack their plate. The kitchen hand would say thank you, you know. Just a nice place to be with.
It's the little things done right.
Just treat each other how you would have treated, right? You know, don't get me wrong, I did get upset. But I always have a simple rule. Talk to the people the way you've been talked to. You know, you talk to me nicely for the rest of my life, I'll speak nicely to you. But the second you're trying to push the boundary, don't expect me to be nice still. You know, I'll give you what you've given to me in a sense.
For the young chefs who are either new, are starting, or have just started, what do you think, or what kind of advice would you give to them if they want to kind of have a long career in the industry? First
of all, you need to make sure this is what you really want to fucking do, because it's a hard job. It's a long hours. It's a night and day from what everyone else is doing. If you're not sure, you're not gonna last, you know. When everyone having dinner, you're cooking for them. When they finish having their dinner, that's when you have your dinner. It's the same with lunch and breakfast. When everyone's is enjoying your time off, everyone's with their family for Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's, and Christmas, you know that you're not gonna get it off. If you're willing to sacrifice all this and you know that this is what you're committed to doing, then the next step, I guess, you need to put in the hard work, right? You need to put in the time. There is no shortcut, you know, to anything. Every single stroke of your knife is only gonna make it the next one better. Every single ingredient that you learn how to do is only gonna make your next dish better. So I think you just really have to put in the time and, you know, trust the process. Because what you invest on doing today is not going to be fruitful the next 3 years. 10 years ago, I did manifest to be where I am, but never once I thought that I'll get it here, right? You didn't know what you're going to get in 10 years, so you just put your head down and do it. If you already start expecting what you're doing it for, I think it's going to be a lot more disappointment along the way, you know.
Agreed.
I think as long as you do the hours, man, whatever you do in life, I think you'll be successful. If you're not willing to put in the hours, I'm sorry.
My definite piece of advice would absolutely be like, have loose goals, but don't have them set in stone, because you'll be disappointed. And not in a bad way. It's just that hospitality is so diverse and you have so many opportunities and experiences that your final destination is going to be very different.
That's right.
You know, and that's a good thing. Because you're going to grow and appreciate different things more than what you did when you started. I want to finish on one last question, and this is a question I used to ask to people who came on the Roots Hospitality podcast. It's a lighthearted question, it's fun, but it's, what was the funniest or craziest time you found yourself most in the shit?
The craziest, most funniest time, huh? One of my junior chef, which is now one of our close friends, he forgot to close his freezer door the previous night. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'll get called in to let me know that the freezer door was all leaking and we lost about $10,000 of produce. I was at the boiling point, but at the time I was like, look, I just want to give every single one of you an opportunity. If you put your hands up, you don't have to do it now. I said, you don't have to do it in front of everyone. You don't have to do it now. I give you guys 3 days to put your hands up, and I'll wipe the state clean. And I would never expect that the person would put their hands up and admit it. He did, and he said that it's okay if I understand if you never ever have to let me go. I said like, no mate, you fucked up. I'm not letting you go. My food cost from 28, now it's at 45. So guess what? You and I, we both gonna work together to bring this back down. You're not going anywhere. So that was a nightmare. That was a hard thing to do. But we did it. We finished end of financial year by 26. So,
oh wow, that's funny as hell.
Yeah, it was, and then we laugh about it now. It's one of our close friends. So we go barbecue and we still talk about it.
Oh really?
Yeah, and then it's still a best life example. I'm like, man, it's tough. You know? But I guess no matter how hard it is, right? You can always make it happen. You can always work it. You know? So yeah.
Oh my God, what a way to finish. Well, thank you for telling the Untold story.
Thank you so
You're
much.
a fucking legend.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate everything.
Amazing. Yay.
Beautiful.